Okay, why those are last two? I'm going to do a third one, just because there's another issue that went on as well. I'm not a Rackley. I'm not even related to Rackleys. My mother had a second husband, Mark Rackley. My father is my mother's first husband, Mark Fleming. So that must have come from these weirdos in Tamworth or people that she affiliates with there since she's moved from Sydney. So I'm going to make it clear, just so there's no confusion. No one's ever heard of Tamworth in their life before 1989. Mark Rackley, my mother's second husband, read about it in a newspaper. And he wanted to go there, so they went there in April 1989. I'm not related. Daniel Rackley, Mark Rackley's son, actually moved to Tamworth. I don't know who went from. I know he's from South Australia, so I know because Mark Rackley had other daughters with my mother. Like, don't affiliate me with them, please. I've said this for years. When the wrong information kept coming about, and some weirdos, some nurses from a Freemason nursing home thought I was a prostitute, or that they'd slept with me or some shit. And it wasn't that they recognized me, it was that they saw me with Carol, my mother, which is why I don't want to be affiliated with my mother, because every time I'm near her, somehow I get either wrongly identified as Shane Childs, her nephew, or Daniel Rackley, her stepson. So Daniel Rackley weirdly actually contacted me in 2016, and look, I barely know the guy, except when he came to Tamworth, or when he was visiting, like even when he came to Rooty Hill and was visiting, there with his father. It's creep. The only thing that's similar between us is that we're both born the same year. We're both the exact same age. So my mother's first husband, his son, me, we're the exact same age. This is what's really creepy about the whole situation. My mother's second husband, Mark Rackley, and me and Daniel Rackley, we're the exact same age. My mother's two husbands are the exact same age. They're born 1 week apart in the same hospital. So Mark Ian Fleming, my father, and Mark Jeffrey Rackley, my stepfather, are both born in the exact same hospital 1 week apart, which I find really creepy. They both had sons, and we're both the same age, which is fucking creepy. And my mother, so mum was married to him. But my dad's a builder. Dad's a beautiful man. Like, some arseholes from Tamworth started making up these stories that my father was this drunk, alcoholic, deadbeat, loser, nurse, cannabis smoker, wife basher, and all this shit. So they've tarnished my poor dad up at Empire Bay, which is why I reckon the weird conversations with dad happened in 2018. I'm like, what the hell is dad talking about? So my dad wouldn't hurt a fly. He's a lover, not a fighter. He's a big gentleman. He great builder. Like, his nieces can confirm that. My cousin Rebecca LeMay, my dad was very close to her mother, Auntie Sandra. Dad's he's just a big bullfed. He's such a sweetie. Like, you wouldn't get a better father than my dad. Wasn't raised by aggressive men. Was raised by very calm, collected softies. Basically, dad is the most softy that you would ever get. A bit grumpy now he's old, but he's had a lot of health problems, so he just likes his space. He doesn't he gets a bit crook and so forth, so doesn't want people, encroaching on his space, which is fair enough. You can understand that. That's it. My mother's second husband is the deadbeat loser that these people are talking about. And I had that in America as well. So somewhere this has gone through immigration, which needs to be sorted out legally. So immigration have information that I'm a Rackley, which I'm not. Don't know how that happened. Never been known as Rackley ever, because that's insane. I'm not just going to, be known as the people that my mother dates or marries. That's insane. And that's where these stupid people around my mother have started making up these stories. It's like, but didn't we know him as a Rackley? No, you didn't. There's no record. Like, you actually didn't. You're just making up these stories now because you're trying to grasp at straws by saying you know me when you don't. So it was about 1995, I think Daniel Rackley moved to Tamworth. Or around that time, I don't know. I know I walked past him once when I was up there for a holiday, and I was like, oh my God, that's Mark Rackley's son. Anyway, those people in Tamworth started calling him Rackley and whatever, and, that's Amanda's brother. That's not Amanda's brother, that's Amanda's stepbrother. So Amanda, my twin sister, which Amanda looks like my mum's side of the family. Amanda looks like a Purdy. I look like a Fleming, which is why we look completely different. We don't even look similar. We have no similar features at all. Amanda looks like my mother's side of the family. I look like my father's side. So these stupid people from Tamworth were like, oh yeah, that's Amanda's brother. It's like, no, Rackley's not Amanda's brother. That's her stepbrother. But they're like, oh, but that's Faith Rackley's brother. It's like, yes, because Faith Rackley's only Amanda's half sister. They share the same mother. So that is Faith Rackley's other brother. Like, you people are so dumb. My mother had 2 husbands. Both husbands have children to other marriages. You're just stupid people they're just country people. They're so dumb. And it's frustrating that they're so stupid they can't comprehend something so simple. You're talking about somebody else. It's that simple. You are talking about somebody else. You've even described a completely different person, which is really weird. Like, people are like, oh, no, Justin used to be like this. I'm like, no, Justin didn't. Daniel did. Justin's anti this. Daniel isn't. Daniel's like his father. All the Rackleys have a telltale sign. They're all involved in some dirty, disgusting behaviour. Justin's not. I'm a Fleming, not a Rackley. It's so simple, but these people are the most dumbest people. They must have rounded up all the dumbest dog shit people in the world and bred them in Tamworth. That's how stupid these people are. So, again, Mark Rackley, Carol's second husband, read about it in a newspaper in 1989. Now, my grandfather, Reginald George Purdy, was going to kill Mark Rackley at that time. He hated my mother's, and for good reason. Like, that's when everything changed in the family, because nobody liked my mother's second husband or my mother's second husband's family. And really, if you're anybody that affiliates with the Rackleys, oh my God. Like, seriously, please don't even talk to me. Like, these people that have come up and I'm like, oh my God, they know Mark and Daniel Rackley. These deadbeat disability workers and these nurses, they know Mark and Daniel Rackley. And they wanted to, I was like, don't come near me. Seriously, if you are that low life, please don't come anywhere near me. And that's what I've had in the last 8 years as well. Some freaks that work with my mother and my mother's niece who actually know Mark Rackley and Daniel Rackley. I'm like, oh my fucking God, don't you dare come near me. That's disgusting. They are the most lowest of low people. You know, anyway. So Mark wanted to go to Tamworth. Carol sold the house that my father gave her. So the one in Dunsmore Street, Rooty Hill, which you have Buckley's to no chances to ever find a house like that again in Sydney. 30 minutes from the city, you've got a beautiful house, like long driveway, walking distance from coffee shops. This beautiful house on an acre of land with swimming pool, landscape gardens and horse stables for horses. You find that in Sydney now. Like, she's an idiot. My mother's an idiot. And she looks like a pathetic fucking idiot. Nobody in their right mind is going to sell that house. The area was built up when I lived there. We had houses either side of us. There was blocks of flats either side of us. 12 Dunsmore Street, Rooty Hill. You're not going to sell a house 30 minutes from the city on an acre of land with, like we had, and it was above ground pool. The in-ground pool was where she lives now. So it wasn't like it was a really old swimming pool. We still had landscape gardens that Dad did the swimming pool. It was a beautiful house. You're not going to sell that to move. You're not going to ever have that in Sydney again. She was an idiot. Anyway, so that's where I grew up. I went to St. Aidan's Primary School in Rooty Hill, and grew up there. Like, every afternoon I used to hang out with Grady and some other friends from school. I used to hang out down a coffee shop down on Rooty Hill Road. Sit there and, drink, what was it? Adronosis or something? Some weird, we had the little, I still remember it. The cups had this little sort of logo on it. It was, probably the worst coffee you could ever have in the 80s. But yeah, used to hang out down there, and there's the milk bars and stuff. That's me growing up. I grew up in a built-up area, a very built-up area of Sydney. Don't know why people think otherwise. Just because we were just lucky enough to have a property in that area, big house, swimming pool, whatever. But my dad was a builder. So Dad was a builder, Mum was a paralegal. That's why they had it. Wasn't like, my grandparents could have ever afforded anything like that. It's because my dad was a builder. My dad was a builder and my mum was a paralegal. So that's why they had it. They both had those jobs. Otherwise, both sets of my grandparents would never have been able to afford the house that my parents actually had. So anyway, that's why they had that. Mum sold it, so Mum got all that. Dad, when he walked out and did the thing that I would say I respect my father the most is that he probably looked at my mother and thought, oh, fuck this, I'm done. and walked out. I was like, well, I've got more respect for him. He's a beautiful man. Like, why let her drag him down? So, he gave everything. When he walked out, he left his tools. He's a builder. He left his tools in the shed, left his clothes in the wardrobe. He just walked out and left. He went to Parramatta to his grandparents. Went to Parramatta to my grandparents' house, to his parents' house, and stayed. And from that moment on, we were always going, seeing Dad at Nan and Pop's in Rainbow Street, in the Parramatta area. So until they moved to Central Coast, and then we'd always go and see on the Central Coast. So yeah, and that's basically what happened. But he gave everything to Mum. So in 1989, Mum sold that house, brought the house that she lives in now. So that all came from my father's money, what my father worked hard for, and my mother's second husband took great advantage of that. But in the last 8 years, these people, they've talked about the Rackleys. The Rackleys' nature, what the Rackleys have got up to, what Daniel Rackley got up to in Tamworth, what Shane Childs, my mother's nephew, got up to in Tamworth, and then projected it back onto me. I'm like, yeah, you're talking about somebody else. So what are we doing here? This doesn't make any sense. The same thing happened in America. It's like, what are we doing here? I never liked Bathurst. I never drove a ute. I never went shooting. Never went hunting. I never collected reptiles. I wasn't involved in wildlife. My hair wasn't blonde. I didn't idolize my uncle. I did have a father in my life all the time. I wasn't fatherless. You're talking about Mum's nephew, Shane Childs. So you must have known some deadbeat losers from Sydney or Tamworth, because you were talking about Shane Childs, my mother's nephew. So, and again, those people I wouldn't affiliate with. As soon as you could hear the conversation, I'm like, oh, cringe. And it's like, oh my God, they must know Mum's sister and Mum's sister's children, because the conversation is exactly to Shane Childs. So yeah, it was weird. That happened actually more than once. It happened in 2017, 2018. That happened in America. It's like, yeah, I don't like nature. Never have. Who started these stories that I liked Bathurst? I'd never really gone to Bathurst. I think we went there for a couple of horse shows, but Shane Childs' father lives there, Reg Childs. I think he's in Bathurst or Rockley or something. And, Shane used to idolise his uncle, his mum's brother. Shane didn't have a father. You're talking about Shane. So why are you coming at me projecting information that relates to my mum's nephew and thinking it relates to me? It doesn't. But you're embarrassing yourself. I sit back for the last 8 years and I go, look, these people just keep embarrassing themselves. And they do. On a daily basis, they are embarrassing themselves. The other conversations that related so much strongly to do with the Rackleys. So in 2017, some weirdo, and this always happens for affiliation. So what would happen is, a great example, let me go back before the last 8 years to 2013. I'm seen with my mother. My mother doesn't stop talking about her fuckwit second husband around disability organisations. So about these disability workers and these social workers and these nurses, and Carol's like, oh, my husband used to do, oh, my husband. I was like, I look at her going, you're embarrassing yourself. Nobody in their right mind would even say they know your second husband, and here you are talking him up. You're embarrassing yourself because people know what a lowlife he is. I just looked at her like that. I mean, like, whatever. Anyway, and then she'd be like, oh, and this is my son. And they're like, oh, I know your dad. Oh, yes, I remember you. Yes. I'm like, whoa. No, we've never met. You don't know my dad. My dad's a builder. And then they're like, oh, what's wrong with him? Oh, he's got personality disorder. I remember him. We used to go and smoke cones together. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. No, you didn't. You're talking about Daniel Rackley. You don't know me. You idiot. So they were actually talking about Daniel Rackley. And then they were like, oh no, he looks so different. And then Mum would jump in and go, oh yeah, he changed. It's like, oh, you're an idiot, Carol. You can clearly hear that these people are talking about Mark's son, Daniel. He did live in Tamworth, and then he also went to the Central Coast at some stage as well, which is creepy because, like, go back to fucking dirtbag Adelaide where you're from, you loser. And he's a loser like his dad. So, yeah, the alcoholic, cannabis smoking, deadbeat loser, Mark Rackley, and Mark Rackley's children. I'm not a Rackley, I'm a Fleming. And as far as I know, the Rackleys all have reddish hair. Look, Mark Rackley has been bored since he was, 29 or something. Like, he's bored like his dad. His dad, Don Rackley, is bored. Completely bored. I think he's dead now. Mark's bored, completely bored. Mark's son, I think, is bored as well. It follows through the men of the Rackleys. All the Rackleys are bored. They're all short, fat, bored, alcoholic, drug freaks. That's the Rackleys. And his mother's fat, freckly, red hair. So there's red hair on his side, which is why I think Faith Rackley's got the red hair. But Daniel Rackley had this dirty brown reddish hair. So did Mark Rackley from memory. He had reddish hair, reddish brownish hair, but bored. So I would say Daniel would be bored like his father. They were all bored on that family. Short, fat, bored, drug-using freaks, cannabis-smoking alcoholics. Ugh. That, you're going to love these disability workers and these social workers and these nurses actually know them. And through affiliation, because my mother's, well, I won't ever have anything to do with my mother again. Because every time I'm near her, I get affiliated with something that's nothing to do with me. It's to do with her second husband and his son. So I won't. Every time, if I'm near her or her sisters, I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting dragged into this. You lot have chose your little bed that you've lied in. I get my life torn apart because I affiliate with you. I'm not affiliating with a low-life mother. Sorry, run along. You're disgusting. I won't have anything to do with her because of through affiliation. Nothing. And it's through affiliation, which is why I have nothing to do with my mother's family at all. And that's it. I've wiped my hands years ago. I said, that's it. Because every time I'm near you, I got accused of Shane Child's character. I got accused of Daniel Rackley's character. I'm not having anything to do with you. You lot have made your bed. Through me being affiliated with you, that's caused me damage. So that's why I said I can go back to 2013 when this happened, when this stupid nurse, Carol's there talking up her deadbeat, low-life second husband. And you've got to remember that Daniel Rackley was thick as thieves with his father. He was always with the father's low-life nursing friends and these deadbeat Freemasons. These disgusting low-life creases of Freemasons that Mark Rackley used to hang around with and get involved in criminal activity, which is what the Rackleys are. Disgusting. So they actually used to affiliate with these people, and like the first time I can actually honestly say that it was made a massive, huge deal about wrongly identifying me with them happened in 2013. And I'm actually, and I hope America, well, I'll try to get them to understand as well, the damaging that this can do. So this is exactly what happened. Carol's talking her husband up, and then in the same breath turns around and said, this is my son. And then I turned around and said, no, you don't know my dad. My dad's a builder, and you don't know me. We've never met. You met Mark Rackley's son. Carol's a smartass. She knows that these people, she's not as stupid as she makes out. She knows I had it wrong. And Carol turned around and goes, oh, I don't know what Justin's talking about. I've only got 3 children. It's like, oh my God, you fucking lying bitch. You know, your husband had how many children to his first marriage? 4. Belinda, Michelle, Kimberly, and Daniel to his first marriage. Then he had 2 other children with you. One of them's dead. The other child he has with you has other siblings. So you're a liar, Carol, and she's a fucking liar, and she manipulated it really well. So that's basically what happened. And I can go back to 2013 when that happened, when this nurse was like giving me attitude because she thought she had a conflict with me. And it's like, oh my God. And I'm like, I can't go here to visit my grandmother because they moved my grandmother from Sydney to where they live. I'm like, I can't go here. This is ridiculous. Every time I'm here, I feel so fucking uncomfortable. They think I'm Daniel Rackley. And that's what happened. I was like, are you fucking shitting me? I said, I'm not. And I said to Giovanni, I said, I'm not going there alone. I said, because of the Rackleys. I said, I won't go and visit my grandmother alone because of the fucking Rackleys. And that's the truth. So, of course, when I left Giovanni, I said, well, that's it. I actually went and said, no, I'm not going to ever see you again. It was your choice to not put your daughters in their place. You should have stayed home in Sydney. But I won't be seeing you again. This is the last time we're going to see you. Because I won't be here without Giovanni, and it's because of the Rackleys. Because I keep getting identified as Mark Rackley, and I did in 2015. I keep getting identified as Mark Rackley's son. It's creepy. These weirdos used to hang out with Mark Rackley and Mark Rackley's son. And I'm getting dragged into things that is really making me uncomfortable in this area. So I won't be coming back. And that happened. And then it happened in America. And it's just happened over 8 years. Michael Long Dead Mears. So anyway, that's where I'm at with trying to get this resolved. And it's trying to get a solicitor to listen. Okay, the best thing is some crisis group, a reach out organisation, a crisis group, acute care centre, attacked me in 2017 and 2018 with information that related to Daniel Rackley. And I even I screenshot all this information. I was like, oh my God, that's not me. And then I had idiots go, oh, that looks like you, and isn't that Faith? I'm like, nope, that's Daniel Rackley, and that's Daniel Rackley's daughter. So all the Rackleys look alike. So that is Daniel Rackley's daughter, who looks spit and image to Daniel Rackley's sister, Faith Rackley. Again, different marriages. My mum's a deadbeat fucking loser. I'm not a Rackley, I'm a Fleming, which is why I don't look like these people think I should be looking like. I look like a Fleming. I'm dark. I was dark skinned. I've got immune deficiencies and iron deficiencies at the moment, which washed me out, which is what happened in 2017. I was looking washed out because of my iron was lower than 10%. And I kept people making up these bullshit stories about, oh, he looks so sick. It's like, yes, my iron level's at lower than 10%. There's an issue with my bowels. Okay, like don't make up a story that isn't factual, which is what these people are doing. It's like, oh, he's dying. It's like, no, I look washed out because my iron levels. Like, stop making up bullshit stories. It's just iron levels. As soon as my iron picks up again, I'll get my normal color back. But at the moment, it's lower than 10%, and nothing can be done until I have this biopsy on my stomach, which is why I'm probably getting sicker. But they want me to have the colonoscopy and endoscopy, and I refuse to until a solicitor's involved because of the exact wrong information that I've just explained. You've got organisations that to date won't correct the wrong information. They're going, that information relates to my mother's second husband's son. Correct it. That's nothing to do with me. So I don't care who told you, and they gather information from other sources. I'm like, I don't give a shit where you gathered your information from. I'm telling you it doesn't relate to me. That's incorrect. You can correct it. Or we can go legally as negligence. So until the solicitor's involved, and this is moving forward legally as negligence, these groups and organisations are put on notice, I won't be having the colonoscopy and endoscopy. It's that simple. Why should I trust people with that when there's some information that's easy? They can go, okay, fine, yep, we're wrong. We didn't realise this. Number one, your mum's a fucking idiot. It's like, I could have told you that. She's a deadbeat. We didn't realise that your dad's father, Stanley Fleming, was adopted, which is why you got your colouring. We didn't realise Carol had 2 husbands and Faith Rackley's got other brothers. Like, seriously, it's not that hard. Here I am telling you that information that you have doesn't relate to me, but it does sound like it's relating to Daniel Rackley, and here's the reason why. But remove it. So simple. I've been saying this now for 8 years. They won't do it. Well, welcome to Australia. I hope no one ever wants to come here and live.